An EL, maybe, or is that the same one? We'll have to see. Arizona. Let's go to Stephen, New York, New York. KE2BAV. Welcome to East Coast Reflector TechNet. Our question tonight, Scott, I think, got it out of the pool, but we thought we'd have a little fun with it. What kind of antenna do you prefer on HF? Vertical or horizontal? You have a beam, or you're running a wire, a vertical wire, or horizontal wire, or vertical. So, care to answer the question, Stephen? Good evening to you. Welcome.
Kilo Echo 2 Bravo Alpha Victory. It's funny because that's my birth name, but I grew up with the name Sly. I'm originally from New York, but I reside in Jersey. But Stephen, I haven't heard that name in years, but you can call me Sly. I just got into the hobby last year, well, 2023, and I just got my extra in April of 2024. I built 2 stations already, VHF, UHF, and GMRS. Now I'm starting my my HF base station, which is driving me crazy. And I have an infrared halfway antenna and a 10 meter 10 meter band ham stick and a 20 meter band ham stick, and I'm just going crazy trying to put these things together. I'm getting a very high SWR on my FT891, which I just got a week ago. So it's like this HF thing is driving me crazy right now. Back to you.
Hey, SLY. I will. We pull everything from QRZ. That's why you were called Stephen. But Vicky's got you changed. Why don't you hold on to that question? We're not quite to the questions yet. I guess I didn't really explain it here tonight. But we see if we have any new stations that have never checked in here before. Then we'll go to the question. So just hold that question, and I'll put you up in queue here to come up first. Let's go to Keith in Mesa, Arizona, KG7EL.
Well, good evening, everyone. I too go by the name Mac, which should be on the QRZ page. Keith is my government name, and Mac is what my friends call me, so you determine which you are. As far as HF antennas go, I'm sure there's the dream. Everybody would love to have a 60-foot tower with a 3-element beam up there. And then what you got is a end-fed antenna, long wire, with a little tuner at the beginning. So I got one of those little SCG tuners, and you can feed it whatever you want. It'll tune it out, and it works. So it's what I can fit on the property, and so that's my favorite right now. But anybody can dream. Thanks for the net, my first time in. I hope I enjoy it, and we'll be listening KG7EL in Arizona.
Mac. Let's go to Nathan, KD7LEL. What's the coincidence of that? 2 stations in a row with the suffix EL.
This is not Nathan. I think that the call sign that you have is wrong. My call sign is Kilo Bravo 7 Lima Echo Lima, and I guess it's just a coincidence with the EL on the suffix. I'm going to answer the question, although I don't do any HF right now. I'm just starting, and mostly into dual band, 2 meters, 70 centimeters. But my favorite antenna right now is a vertical with ground plane. It's a Comet GT3 my portable setup. I'm really happy to listen to this net. I'm hitting this net through a KR1P repeater, which is in Layton, Utah. So thank you for being there, and I will be listening. SWLing.
Well, thank you, Gray, and that is a coincidence, so it has EL, two right in a row with the suffix EL. I think we ought to go play the lottery tonight, Scott. Anybody else new to this net? If you've never checked into this net before, this is your one and only chance in your whole life that you'll be first up. So, who do we have that would like to get in here and say hello? If you've never checked into this net before, your call sign's twice.
Kilo Jupiter 4, Zulu Foxtrot Michael. Kilo Jupiter 4, Zulu Foxtrot Michael, Deltona, Florida.
Oh, Robert, you come up red on my screen. I've been on here before, so we have to ask you to come in when we call the fourth call district, which is last tonight. For those of you who don't know, that after we get done with the TechNet portion, we go through the numerics. We start with 5 tonight, and the fourth call district, is last. Also, I have stations with a question. No, I'm sorry, stations that have never checked in
I appreciate
to
that.
this net before.
Yeah, I
never
do
checked
have
into
something
this
I
net.
want
We'd
try
like to
get
hear from you now.
Thank you much.
I guess I doubled with somebody. Who else do we have tonight that has never checked into this net? Please give me your call sign twice if you've never checked into this net before.
Kilo India 4, Romeo Hotel Papa.
Looks like Peter from Jacksonville, Florida. You are new to the system, and you do have a current email address on your QRZ.com page, so you will, along with Stephen up there, will be from New York, will be receiving a welcome letter. However, Gray, and I forgot to tell him, KB7LEL, he does not have an email address on his QRZ, so a little homework assignment for you, Gray, from Utah, to go to QRZ.com and put a current email address, a public email address. But let's see what Peter from Jacksonville's got to say. KI4RHP. You are new to the system, not only to the net. Our question tonight, what kind of antenna do you prefer on HF? Vertical or horizontal?
Hotel Papa, Peter in Jacksonville, Florida. Well, I'm kind of confined, so I have to go with vertical. So I'm using an Aimtron 99, or in this case, a JP6 antenna. Back to the net, QSL.
Well, good for you. Good for you, Peter. Thanks for being with us tonight, and welcome. Who else do I have? Users, stations that have never checked into this net KJ5HIJ. Radio related questions. If you have an amateur radio related question, we'll take it. Let me get a list started here, and then I'm going to go up to Stephen. Sly, I guess that was what we're going to, I guess that was his preferred nickname, Sly. We're going to take him in just a minute, but if you've got an amateur radio related question, we've already got KJ5HIJ from Waco, Texas. Who else is, oh, I'm sorry, he's a new person. Okay, well, let me take him. Looks like KJ5HIJ from Waco is a new person, so let me say good evening to you and welcome to the East Coast Reflector. The question was vertical, horizontal for HF. I'm going to say depends what you're doing. I personally use a horizontal, but it really depends what you're doing. Sometimes you can get a little more DX with vertical, but it depends on how you're set up, how you did it. But I'd say I prefer horizontal. So with that, I'm coming back to you. This is KJ5HIJ. Last call for new stations to get into this net. If you've never checked in before, give us your call sign, please. Nothing. Now, let's go to stations to have a technical amateur radio related question. I'll come back up to Sly there in a minute, but let me get a list started here. If you've got an amateur radio related question that you'd like to pose to the group tonight, give us your call sign twice. This is Dick WB2JPQ. Kilo 6 Alpha Delta Sierra K6ADS. K680, Andrew, I haven't heard you on the system for a while from Glen Burnie, Maryland. You were on here, and I haven't heard you for a few weeks. Let me go up to KE2BVA in New York, and I know you started to say before what your problem was, and why don't you give it to us again? Give us the condensed version. What is your problem? You've got, I heard you on earlier, and we were in the middle of a meeting before this meeting. I heard you talking on the radio, but it sounds like you have an antenna tuner that will not tune. It won't tune. You must have too high of an SWR. It will not tune. Is that the problem?
This is Kilo Echo 2 Bravo Alpha Victory. Yeah, that's the problem, and I troubleshooted everything, and that's why I find out it won't troubleshoot, because it'll tune, because it won't take over anything over SWR. But I have an infrared antenna, and I have a 10 meter band ham stick and a 20 meter band ham stick, and I checked my cables and everything, and I don't know, on my FT891, which I just got, the SWR meter just reads high, so you know, I'm just going crazy. I was with this thing all day today, so I'm gonna go back at it, you know, in the morning and start with the infrared antenna and see what's going on. Over.
Assuming Charles is in here tonight, one of our antenna guys. I hope that David's here as well. Didn't have a roll call, but boy, I tell you, if you got 10-meter ham sticks and a net end set, you got something seriously going on there. If you can't tune either one of them. But Charles, good evening. What's your take on this?
Good evening, Dick, and everyone on the TechNet. This is Charles, KC6 UFM, and good evening, Sly. Yeah, the number one thing I would be suspicious of, Sly, is your feed line. You may have an open or you may have a short in one of the connectors. I don't know if you're going through an antenna switch of any kind, if there's any one piece of feed line that is common to all the antennas. But as Dick said, if you're seeing problems with an end fed, assuming it's long enough, and if you're seeing problems with ham sticks, there is something serious going on there. The second thing I would be suspicious of is the counterpoise, because keep in mind, the end fed needs a counterpoise to work off of, as do the ham sticks. And if you have by chance put a common mode choke, ferrite, something of that nature at the far end of the feed line, that will basically disconnect your counterpoise from your antenna system, and it'll give you all manner of crazy SWR readings, excuse me. But my prime suspect just pops into my mind right off the bat is that you've got a feed line issue of some sort. Back over to you, Dick, KC6 UFM.
4FXC.
Hi, David. Good evening.
Yeah, I had a question. What kind of a tuner is being used, and what kind of feed line and what lengths? I guess probably has more than one piece of feed line been tried, or is it just a single piece? What length and what kind of tuner? K4FXC.
The antenna tuner I have is ATU 100. I'm running 50 feet of transmission line, but I troubleshoot everything. I was a cable engineer for like 31 years, so I basically know how to troubleshoot stuff like this. But what I did, I switched over the coaxial cable that I'm getting a high SWR over to my VHF. I took a SWR reading over there, perfect, no problem. I did a continuity test on it. I mean, everything. I have Messi and Peroni coaxial cable that I use, so everything is fine with the cable. It's just something, I don't know, with HF. I'm new with this, so it's just driving me crazy. The only thing I can see with the ham stick is that the counterpause and a ground plane, because right now I don't really have I'm in a HOA complex, so I was using a large cookie sheet with the ham sticks, so maybe that could be one of the reasons with the high SWR. I'm not too sure. So basically, that's it. Back to you guys.
All right. Well, my question would be next. Are you sure the tuner is working? Okay. I know it comes on and tries to tune, but are you sure the actual tuner is functional? Have you had it to work on some antennas, or can you test it? Or do you have another tuner, I guess, possible that you could try it with? Because if you tested the coax on like a VHF UHF antenna and it worked okay there, and but yet when you hook that same coax up to multiple VHF antennas and you can't get anything to work with it, and the tuner's in line, then that would sounds like the tuner might be an issue. But it should that tuner, I've got a couple of those, the high power version, and they're pretty broad range. I would think they would probably tune tune most things pretty well, but they also are known to have, a lot of them have been reported to have issues where they weren't working right. So I think that's what the primary complaint is, where they were reported to not. But test that would be the next thing, K4FXC.
What's funny with that tuner that I have, the ATU antenna tuner, when I go into AM mode and I transmit, I hear it. It works, but it'll click and then it stops. And then it'll read no power. Then it'll say tune, and then it'll give a number for the capacitor and it'll give a number for the inductance. But that's it. But this particular tuner that I have, if the SWR is higher than 2, it will tune. Over.
K4FXC. Okay, well, I think that may be part of the problem, or maybe hitting the problem on the head here. You need to tune the antenna. You need to supply the tuner with a carrier, like either AM on low power or CW, just a continuous carrier at about 4 or 5 watts typically at most. And until it does its job, when you supply the carrier from the transmitter, then hit the tune button and let it do its thing, and hopefully it'll find a good match. But you have to go through that, and once it's found the match, then you want to not tune it any further on that frequency unless you're seeing a high SWR again. So that may be part of the issue. On sideband or something. So if you're just but you need to supply it with a low power carrier, and then hit the tune button. It should do its thing and hopefully come back with a match. If you've tried all this already, then sounds like my suspect would be maybe the tuner's not working right. But it's since you've tried, and so if you've got a dummy load, you could try dummy load, connected to the tuner, and then try the tuning process with the dummy load, and that should you should be able to find a match there as a kind of a catch-all test. But yeah, it sounds like some kind of equipment's failing. My suspect is the tuner, K4FXC.
KC6 USM.
Go ahead, Charles.
Yeah, thank you, Dick. With additional information that David got there on the tuner, I've got several of those ATU 100s, and I found that they'll match up to almost 10 to 1. So, if you've got one that won't match anything beyond or better than 2 to 1, I have to agree with David that you may have a tuner that's gone belly up like a Walmart goldfish. Back over to you, Dick, KC6 USM.
The Walmart goldfish. Well, that's a new one. I just got one thing to ask you. You said when you went to AM, you had clicking noises. Well, that's normal. You have to be an AM, FM, or CW in order to get a constant carrier. Is that? Are you doing that?
Roger that. I went to AM mode. I put my HF power to 5 watts, and then I transmitted, and I hear a little clicking sound in the tuner, but it's very short. It's very short. And then, like I said, it shows no power. It says tune, and then it has like a number for the capacitance and a number for the inductance. Now, my thing is, okay, when I hit that tune button, right, everything is 0, right? When I transmit, do I press the button tune, or it should do it itself, right? Over.
I don't know. You've got to make sure that you have a constant carrier, like we said, either in AM. I guess on some of my rigs, yeah, I can push the tune button and get in a constant carrier. As long as you're getting a constant carrier, you're good. And usually, you said it's very short. Well, that's a good sign. It usually means that your tuner's not really working too hard to adjust your this wire. So, well, good luck to you. I guess we've kind of beat this to death tonight, but those are some suggestions, and you're going out tomorrow to see what you can find and come back next week, and we can all learn from it. Let's move on to Andrew in Glen Burnie, Maryland, K6ADS. Good evening.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it, and thank you to Net Control and people who host the East Coast Reflector. Yeah, apologies, I've been away from the radio, or AFR. Been doing a lot of hunting and a lot of traveling, and that's what my question is about, is we're traveling again to Japan, and I want to bring my amateur radio equipment this time. I brought it last time, but I didn't do much with it, but I would like to do it again. Do I need to get a reciprocal license if I'm only going to be there less than 30 days? We're actually going to be about 4.5 weeks. Or do I need to do the paperwork and so on? Because I've been looking at it and I can't figure out if I have to do it or if that's only for a fixed station for visiting longer than 30 days. So I appreciate the time for the net. This is Andrew, K6 Alpha Delta Sierra.
Let's put that out. I have no idea. I would think you have to get a reciprocal. That's always the way it's been, but things do change. Anybody comfortable and think they can help Andrew out?
FXC.
Go ahead, David.
Yeah, I have not looked it up online to be sure, but I would think you do need a reciprocal license. You should be able to get that information from their State Department or their embassy. Give them a call about it and explain it. There's a procedure online, but in general, I would think for most countries, you do need to contact them about it. But there's no license. Just the paperwork is just formality. But I think you do need to contact them. Not sure about it. I haven't actually searched online for Japan, but most countries you do need to do that. It's a simple procedure, but you still got to go through it. K4FXC. Yeah, it really depends on if they're in the ITU, if they're in the International Telecommunications Union. We're reciprocal to a lot of countries without any hassle at all. But I've done it in Afghanistan, and I've looked it up on JARL. They have a pretty extensive website in English about it, but I couldn't figure out. And I got a couple different answers on whether I needed to do it. I've also done it for China as well. There you have to be sponsored with a club and a host. It's really strict, but yeah, I appreciate the feedback, and I'll look a bit more into it. That was the difference. I'm ready to pull the trigger on the paperwork and file it, but some people told me you don't need to do it if you're there less than 30 days. So thank you. A lot of countries won't even let you through customs with radio gear if you don't have the paperwork. So it's I think you do need that, but it's just fill it out and get it stamped. K4XE.
Just a quick Google says that you do, so good luck. We'll all learn. Don't be a stranger, Android. Like I said, I haven't heard you for a while. Enjoyed talking with you. Where am I going here? Charles, I guess I need stations with the amateur radio related questions. We did those. Who else do I have tonight with an amateur radio related question? This is Dick, WB2JPQ. Going once, going twice. Can't believe it. Only has a few questions tonight, but anybody else? No question is too foolish. We found that our Ask an Elmer room on the first and third Thursdays at 8 o'clock East Coast time in our Zoom room is working out very nice. So if you don't want to ask it on the air, come on in there. And, I always refer to that as a big round table in a coffee shop and a bunch of people talking amateur radio. It's just what it is. We really have a good time in there. Anyone else? Last call for stations with a question.
I have an FT891, and I'm trying to do digital with it, and I have a DigiRig DR891. Has anybody experienced any problem getting connected on digital using that type of setup?
First of all, give me your call sign. We'll see who you are, and then we'll see if we can find an answer for you.
Oscar 4, Whiskey India Yankee. Kilo Oscar 4, Whiskey India Yankee. Steve out of Dandridge.
Righty, and give us, Steve, give us that question one more time. I was looking for call signs and it kind of threw me off guard and I missed the beginning. So run that question by us again. We'll see if we can for you.
891. When I purchased it, it came with a DigiRig, and it was a used setup. The previous owner said he's been able to do digital with it. I've tried unsuccessfully now for about 3 months getting it set up using a Windows 11 computer. I followed the setup instructions as much as I can, and still get very little reception. I don't think I've made a single digital contact yet. So just wondering if there's anybody knows any secret to using an FT891 with a DigiRig DR891.
Let's see if there's any FT891 people out there that can help you, Stephen.
K5HLH, Kilowatt 5 Hotel.
Hey, good evening. I missed the call sign, but give it to us one more time. We'll get it in. I guess Vicky's got it. 5HIH or something like that. Go ahead.
Kilowatt 5 Hotel Lima Hotel, K5HLH. The 891, you need software to make it work. I use WSJTX with my 891, the Yaesu FT. And when you use the software, you've got to have your computer timed. You've got to have your computer timed to the exact second. If you're using FT8 digital mode, that's what you need to do. Back to net, K5H.
K5HLH, it's Harry. Thank you, Harry. Well, there's a suggestion for you. I sync it every time I'm trying to hook up. I am using WSJTX. That setup seems to be good. Everything seems to be there. It's just that I don't seem to be getting, I'm not sure if it's the right, I'm pretty sure I probably have something screwed up on my radio because I'm brand new for an FT891, never owned an HF receiver before, transceiver before. But yeah, I'll make sure all that stuff I have, I think every time I try to do it. Like yesterday when I was trying to do it, I couldn't get it to stay in, every time it went to through the transmit phase and then the receive phase, every now and then I'd get a, hey, it can't read my rig. And it says, hey, do you want to retry it? And I'd obviously go yes. And then I'd notice that it would shift out of the data mode and go back to upper sideband. So, like I said, I have cables, I have everything that it needs to do it successfully. I'm just not having any success at all. I just wonder if there's, outside of the time sync, if there's anything else people can give me to possibly get it back up and get it back to where I can try digital. VE3BZ. Good evening, Kevin. Go right ahead.
Thank you, Dick. Good evening, Stephen. I think you mentioned a couple things there. The warning about the computer or the software not reading your radio. That might be RF getting back in your shack and into the computer, and it kind of screws things up a little bit. So you might want to check that. The other thing you mentioned was that it keeps going out of data mode into upper sideband. Well, on FT8, you should be operating in upper sideband on all bands anyway, so just, that's another thing. So anyway, that's all I wanted to mention. Back to net, VE3BZ.
Take a look at definitely with that. I could have swore somewhere in the setup it said, go in and change your band, the mode to digital, but maybe it didn't. I'm just assuming that, so I'll try that again on my next setup. I just thought for digital I need to be in something other than upper sideband.
K8 UFM. K680S.
Control net here. Now I got Randall, K8 UFM. The other station there, hold on please. Randall, go ahead.
Yeah, one of the things that I've noticed in the past is you can get RF back in over the USB connection you have back into your computer. You may want to put a ferrite on that or find a shielded USB cable. That may help. And then also Ham Radio Tube on YouTube did a very nice presentation on the DR891 for the FT891, and he goes through the full setup of it. So maybe watching him set it up in parallel with you setting up will get you over something you may be missing. But I've seen that before with the USB connection throwing RF bleeding back into the computer and messing everything up. So either getting a shielded USB cable or a couple ferrites at each end of the USB cable may help with that also. Back to you, Dick. K8 UFM.
Well, I appreciate that. My USBs that came with the unit, all of them, all the cables have ferrite cores all over them. At the radio, on the opposite end, going into the DR891. The USB cable that's coming out of the DigiRig has a ferrite core right there coming off the plug. Another one going into the USB-A cord that goes into the computer. But I will definitely look at that more, and I have heard that before, but I didn't think I was having any issues considering, like I said, I could be getting RF for all I know. I don't know what it would sound like. As for YouTube, ham radio tube, I'll take a look at him. I don't think I've seen him before. Maybe I have. I've watched a lot of them, so I'll see what I can do. But I do appreciate all the hints and all the suggestions. Thank you very much. Kilo Oscar 4, Whiskey India Yankee.
The last thing too, are you running a external time sync application? Okay, UFM.
Not running an external time sync application. I'm just running the Windows update. Every time I plug the radio in to the computer, I run the Windows update once I've turned everything on and have the program running. I have heard suggestions about getting certain time applications. I haven't done one yet, but maybe if I need to do that, I should do that next. I recommend for a timing application.
In fact, I was just looking for that. FT8 is very time driven, and if you're within a couple seconds off, you won't be able to make FT8 connections. And I'm looking for the one I use, but it's not on the computer that I'm currently running, so I'm trying to remember what it's called. I'll pop back on as soon as I find it to let you know. Back to that. KUFM.
Net control. Let me go to Andrew in Glen Burnie, Maryland. He had a comment, K6ADS.
Thank you, Dick. Appreciating that control. I had a similar issue with my G9, that it would switch modes after transmitting. So in your settings, if you go to mode, it's either data packet mode or USB or none, right? If your radio doesn't have a data packet mode, then you just run USB mode. If that setting is wrong, when you're transmitting or doing it, it'll switch the mode at the end of transmitting or before it transmits or so on. So make sure that's right. And then if your radio has split dual watch and stuff like that, then you need to set split operation correctly. But I'd make sure those are right by the recommended videos and the people that show you how to configure it. But I had a very similar problem with my G90, and it was that I had that setting wrong. Mine has a data packet mode. It's upper sideband digital, and it goes into the auxiliary in and out instead of the speaker or microphone. So it works that way, and I do have true dual split operation, so I have that set to rig. Baud rate has to be right, all that other stuff has to be perfect and right for it to work. And I agree with other people as far as RF getting into it. It sounds like you got that covered with all of your Farad cores. That was the comment I had. I appreciate it. I hope you work it out. It's a lot of fun with digital modes. K6ADS.
Okay, UFM. The tool you want to look for is called TimeSyncTool.com. TimeSyncTool.com. You install that and run that while you're running FT8. It'll keep your system in close enough sync to be successful if you're having a time issue. Back to that, KUFM.
Data mode, right upper sideband, but right single sideband. So I'll take a look at that documentation. Everything that then I'm not user interface. I mean, that would be the first time it happened to me. I did a system reset on my radio the other day, and I failed to realize that, oh heck, that turned off my tuner, and I couldn't auto-tune my antennas anymore. So, and that kicked my butt for about 12 hours. Thanks a lot again, appreciate it. Kilo Oscar 4, Whiskey India Yankee, back to net control.
May I check in? I'm sorry for being very late.
we got as much out of you as we did. I didn't get a chance to look up that IRLP node where it is that you're coming in, but you're a little bit shaky. Who else has got an amateur radio related question? Amateur radio related questions. Call signs twice. This is Dick, WB2JPQ.
This is Whiskey 4, November. I'd just like to check in. I'm very late, but I'd like to check into the net.
M5 MXI, November 5, Mike X-Ray India.
Yeah, wait for that Lubbock station to quiet down. WW4N. If you'd just like to check in, you're going to have to wait till the 4th call district, my friend. We're taking stations with a question. And if you don't have a question, you'll check in later in the evening. Looks like we got David from Corpus Christi, Texas, N5MXI with a question. Good evening, David. MXI. David, did you have a question for us? If that. What else do I have? Last call for stations with an amateur radio related question.
Kilo Echo 2 Bravo Alpha Victory, slide with a question.
At the KE2B-AV, I got you. Who was the other station that doubled with Steven?
November 4, Sierra, Charlie, Papa.
Oh, Frederick in Huntsville, Alabama. All right, we got you on the list there. KE2B-AV, apparently you had a follow-up question.
Yes, I just want to know, when I go into the AM mode to new to all this, how do I know if I got a carrier over?
Well, I hope you have an SWR meter. You do have an SWR bridge. I mean, you can tell from the rig, but the SWR bridge in line would be your true test.
Yes, I have the FT891, and it has a built-in SWR meter. So when I'm keying down, like I said, it's like it's a high SWR, but I'm not familiar. Like, what am I looking for when I'm doing it? You know, trying to find a carrier. How would I know if something's going through or something's not going through? Am I supposed to get some type of signal or something? Over.
Well, I'm not familiar with the radio. I don't believe in the internal stuff. I'm an old school guy. I gotta have the meters. I gotta have a decent SWR bridge in line so I know what my radios are doing. Anybody help them out on the 891? I'm sure there's if it's going up, you got a carrier. I mean, you know, if you're getting a VizWire, if you're reading a VizWire, you've got a carrier, but you should be able to just put it in the AM mode or CW mode and key it. And on an FT891,
I'm pretty positive that if you have a high SWR, you should get like a warning right in the middle of your screen that'll say high SWR while you're transmitting. I don't think that's something you have to turn on. I think that'll automatically happen if it's reading a high reflectivity coming back into your rig. But check that.
All right, thank you. I would highly recommend go out and you've gone this far and get a good SWR bridge where you can put it in line. You can actually see what's going on. You're not relying on that little meter on your radio to tell you what's going on in the world. I'd highly recommend a good SWR bridge.
K4FXC.
Go ahead, David.
Yeah, a SWR/watt meter, which you can get. The SureCom is an excellent one. SURECOM. Search on Amazon. It's an excellent little meter. And a little, low power dummy load is also just an excellent shack accessory to have for testing purposes. Just so you can make sure the radio is working right as the first step, and then go from there. K460.
Yeah, good point, David. Sometimes we overlook the basic tools. We buy a radio and coax and an antenna, and we overlook some basic tools like a good dummy load and an SWR bridge and so forth. Well, good luck to you, my friend. Come back and let us know how you make out. Like I said, Thursday night, Ask an Elmer, be in Elmer, 8 o'clock in the East Coast Reflector Zoom room. If you'd like some extra help, maybe somebody could even go to a breakout room and work with you. Let me move on here. Looks like I have Frederick in Huntsville, Alabama, and for SCP with a question. And he's also new to the system. Good evening.
Stumbled across you guys, and I'm guessing this is, I don't know what kind of net this is, but I'm assuming it's some type of net that's being hosted on the East Coast Reflector. Is that correct?
That is correct. We're on the East Coast Reflector and coming up on 12 years this June for the TechNet. So we're looking for stations that have amateur radio related questions.
Yeah, because we were using a different repeater here locally in Huntsville, and it looks like that repeater is no longer working correctly. At least it won't receive my signal. So it looks like the locals have moved the reflector up to this frequency.
I can't speak for that. That W or N4WGY, that's usually with us every Tuesday night. An 8087 in Huntsville, there was stations on there this morning, so I don't know if that's the one you're referring to, 94 in Huntsville. But that's full-time on, pretty much full-time on the ECR. Somebody told me this morning, or told us this morning, that it had been down for a little while. It gets it gets disconnected, and you have to send an email to Mark, and he connects it up. But other than that, I can't help you.
I think there's a receive problem with it, because I used to be able to hit it with no problems on. I'm using a mobile rig with 50 watts, and basically it's about 5 miles on top of the hill, so I'm not exactly sure what's going on. But anyway, if this is a substitute, we're A-OK. Thanks for the information. Bye.
Comment.
Well, it's good to know that the other one's in there and does cover part of the Huntsville area. Maybe that was the problem. They were a couple of people or somebody talked about it this morning. I heard somewhere along the line. If you got a comment on the subject, I thought we left all the subjects, but go ahead.
About a company called SureCom. Can you share that again, please?
Go ahead with that, David. Was that SureCom?
K4 Big C, stand by, just walk away for a moment. Yeah, K4 Big C, the SureCom SW-102HF is their HF meter. It's both a VSWR and power meter. It's a digital meter, and I've got several of them. They're just excellent, flat out excellent little meters. I've got the VHF UHF model as well, which is, let's see, it is the, what's the SW102 without the HF on there. So they're both excellent meters. And I also have a kit that includes a little dummy load. If you just search SURECOM in Amazon, you'll find a whole list of stuff. K4FXC.
As in SureCom.com or just SureCom?
Yeah, just the word SureCom, not the SureCom.com. So in Amazon, just SURECOM, and you can also look for like SW-102HF for the HF meter, and just 102 will be the VHF UHF meter.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much for sharing that.
Right, I think that will help you out. Thanks, David. All right, let's see who else we got. Stations with amateur radio related questions. How are we doing on time? Looks like about 6 past the hour. Stations with amateur radio related questions. Well, hearing nothing. The next thing on the agenda is to go up to our good friend Kevin, VE3BZ, and see what he's got for us tonight from the swap-in shop. Good evening again, Kevin.
Thanks again, Dick, and good evening again, everyone. I've got a few items this evening, all from Wayne, KG4MUK in Seneca, South Carolina. Starting off with an Astron RS 70M-AP 70 amp power supply, which is new, and he's asking $500. A Kenwood TS570 HF transceiver, asking $500 as well, and a Palstar HF Auto tuner, which is brand new, and he is asking $1,500 for that. You can see pictures of all of these items on the groups.io list. I posted that this afternoon. And to contact Wayne, his email is kg4muk@yahoo.com. That's kg4muk@yahoo.com. And that is it for this week. If you have anything for sale, trade, or want, just go to eastcoastreflector.com, click on Contact ECR, and go to SwapNet Submissions. Alright, thanks, Dick. Back to you. Oh, and to answer tonight's horizontal antennas. VE3BZ, back to net.
Thank you, Kevin. Looks like we got some nice items in. I see there's been a couple people that have requested to post on our Facebook page. I don't think we mind posting, but we want to make sure those posts get up to Kevin. So we're going to ask you to do that if you do post. Well, that'll be it from this end. I'll see you tomorrow morning for the open on the morning brew. Sitting here thinking tonight what we might talk about, but maybe we'll talk about hydration, how much water you drink in the course of the day. And also I think of something else, but get your ounces lined up and maybe we'll talk about that tomorrow morning. I'm going to send it over to Roger down in Umatilla, Florida. He's going to take a whole bunch of check-ins, then he's going to turn it over to Scott. He's going to finish the list and do the late and missed. Thank you, Miss Vicky, KAPKY, for logging as always. It's all yours, Roger. KQ4 or KO4QMM. Good night, everybody. This is WB2JPQ. Thanks, Dick, and good evening, everybody. Welcome to this evening edition of the TechNet, Tuesday night, 8 o'clock. My name's Roger, KO4QMM, Umatilla, Florida. I'll be taking check-ins tonight, the 5s through the 9s. So hope everybody's had a good weekend and good day today. Let's start with the 5s. Anybody with a 5 in their call sign, come twice and slow.
Alpha India 5, Papa India. Alpha India 5, Papa India. Rocky in Fort Worth.
Kilo Charlie 5, Charlie Zulu X-ray.
Whiskey 5, Whiskey.
CZX, in and out, please.
Whiskey 5, Whiskey. Cameron, Louisiana, mobile. All right, we'll start with Rocky in Fort Worth, Texas. Alpha India 5, Papa India, I do believe. And then we got in and out, KC5, CZX, Daryl, Lubbock, Texas. And I do believe it's W5WJT, Joe in Kinder, LA. Anybody else I got, or Kinder, Louisiana, sorry about that. Anybody else with a 5 in their call sign? In and out. You better give a couple seconds with your PTT switch there. All I heard was in and out. Come back with your call sign. N5DRT, Morgan, Texas. In and out. N5DRT, in and out, Kurt, Morgan, Texas. We got you there. All right, let's go to the top of the list there. Alpha India 5, Papa India, Rocky, Fort Worth, Texas. What kind of antenna do you prefer use on HF, vertical or horizontal?
AI5PI. Based on my location here in Fort Worth, Texas, downtown, I don't have any room for a wire, so I've got to say vertical. I run a vertical antenna on HF. Back to net control, AI5PI.
Vertical it is, Rocky. Thanks for joining us tonight. Next we'll move on to Daryl in Lubbock. He was in and out. So I guess we're going to move to Joe, Kinder, Louisiana. W5WJT. How about it, Joe? What kind of antenna do you prefer for use of HF? I don't have a preference. I'd say I'd prefer to use whichever I get my hands on. Currently, my favorite one is probably about a 90-foot off-center fed dipole that I'm running. It's about 25 foot high. And I've had on back order for some time now the Chameleon Tactical Delta Loop, which is 2 of the 17-foot whips with a 4-foot wire that runs across the top.
had that on back order since before Christmas, so I'm hoping those come in the next 2 weeks before Winter Field Day, because I would like to utilize those out in the field. And with that setup, you get horizontal as well as vertical antenna out of that set. So I guess horizontal would be my preference currently. But like I said, whatever I can get my hands on, I'm game for. Tango, back to that control. Thanks for joining us, Joe, and I hope that works out pretty good. And check into the 20-meter net there if you're not working Thursday at 10 a.m., 14.317, and test out your antenna. It's always a good place for that. And yeah, I have two long end feds. I got 232-foot end feds, and I got two antenna ports on the back of my radio, and one antenna goes to each ear. So I hear a lot what's going on out there. I do appreciate those long wires. Thanks for being with us, Joe. And then Kurt from Morton, Texas was in and out, and 5DRT. Let's move on to the sixes. This is KO4QMM, Roger in Central Florida. Anybody with a 6 in their call sign, come twice and slow.
KM6GSG, that's Kilo November Golf, Sierra Golf.
Via text line, and we have KN6GSG Barry, Moss Beach, California. Anybody else with a 6 in their call sign? Alright, Charles, looks like it's you. KC6UFM, Charles Kittay, California. What kind of antenna do you prefer, the vertical or the horizontal?
Good evening, Roger, and everyone on the TechNet. This is Charles, KC6UFM from beautiful downtown Guatay, California in the wind. As far as the antennas are concerned, I kind of have to say both, because I tend to switch back and forth in the middle of QSOs to see which I get a better signal on, either the vertical or the horizontal. So I have to go with both. I don't think I lean heavily to any of them. But anyway, thanks to Vicki for logging tonight, and you, Roger, and Dick, and I understand Scott's coming up here in a little bit for herding cats tonight. But otherwise, not much going on here. We're just kind of in the middle of another Santa Ana event. They've warned us that they're going to be turning the power off at some point this evening, but it has not happened yet. And luckily, I've got a couple of new batteries on the system, so shouldn't have too much problems with it. But my goodness, those poor people up in the LA area, keep them in your thoughts and prayers. It's apparently a bit of a mess up there. Everyone take care, and 7-3, stay out of trouble. KC6 UFM, back to net control.
Oh yeah, thoughts and prayers with everybody out there, Charles. And yeah, man, I thought our hurricanes were bad, but geez, man, it really taken a lot out of everything. So yeah, thoughts and prayers, Charles. Hope everything goes well. We'll be talking back to you. Let's move on to Barry, Moss Beach, California. KN6GSG. How about it, Barry? What kind of antenna do you prefer, vertical or horizontal?
Well, good evening to everyone on the net. I prefer horizontal. The only antenna I'm using
here and both and in Anacortes when I'm up there. There's a
Wow.
quarter wave, 33-foot
You need a
wire,
lot better people.
end fed with 1 to 9 un. Here in Moss Beach, I have 4 radios on the one antenna. I'm using 2 switchers, one ganged into the other one. So I only have 1 radio on at a time, but it works great for all 4 radios. I'm very happy with it. Low maintenance and doesn't bother the neighbors. Back to the net. This is KN6 DSG. Clear.
QSL, Barry. Sounds like you're happy with your setup, as am I. Thanks for joining us this evening. On that note, this is KO4QMM, Roger in Central Florida with the East Coast Reflector Tuesday Night TechNet. We're going to go for anybody with a 7 in their call sign. Come with your call sign twice and slow and join us.
Kilo Juliet 7.
Kilo Charlie 7. Juliet Charlie
Juliet 7.
Kilo Charlie 7. Juliet Charlie Victor. In and out.
All right, we got a Kilo Juliet 7, Juliet Charlie Victor. Anybody else with a 7 in their call sign? I thought I heard another one in there.
Kilo Juliet 7, Sierra November Whiskey, mobile.
One more time there, mobile. We just missed a few, I think, of your suffix there. Bring back your whole call slowly.
So, Juliet 7, Sierra November Whiskey again. Kilo Juliet 7, Sierra November Whiskey.
Oh, we got you that time, Ted. Portland, Oregon, KJ7SNW. Thank you for joining us this evening. Let's move up to Spencer, Richmond, Texas, KC7JCV. What kind of antenna do you prefer? Use HF, vertical or horizontal, Spencer?
I'm only a technician right now, but I enjoy the idea of a horizontal more. Back to you.
Yeah, if you have the room, seems like you can pick up a lot on a nice long wire. So thanks for joining us. Let's move on to Ted, Portland, Oregon, KJ7SNW. Good evening, Ted.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you for attending this. I have a 6-amp vertical in the backyard that I love, runs well with the amp, and then I have a off-center fed dipole that I use in the back for mostly listening. If I had something like a beam, I would probably prefer that over the vertical just for the amplification and for the clear signal, but at this point, I'll be vertical more than horizontal.
Oh, don't get me started on the beams, man. Really, we all wish we could have a beam. Those guys really tear it up out there. So thanks for joining us, Ted, Portland, Oregon, KJ7SNW. All right, we're moving on to the 8. We already got a few of them via text line. Anybody with an 8 in their call sign, come twice and slow. November 8 Whiskey Juliet Lima. November 8 Whiskey Juliet Lima.
Alpha November Hotel 7
Juliet
Tango
Alpha
Romeo
Delta 8 Mike
NH7TR.
Allen in Northeast Ohio.
Whiskey 8, Bravo, Romeo Delta. Whiskey 8, Bravo, Romeo Delta. Bill, New Market, Tennessee. Julia Lima, November 8, Lima, J in Detroit. Alright, from the bottom up, we got November 8, Whiskey, Julia Lima, J, Detroit, Michigan. We got W8BRD, Bill, New Market, Tennessee. NH7TR, I don't know about the 7 there. Dick, Celebaro, Texas. AD8MJ, Allen, Warren, Ohio. N8JWL, Bruce, Cadiz, Ohio. And then via text line, W8CRW, CR, Unionville, PA. K8UFM, Roy, Blaisdell, New York, and that's it. Well, I guess we're going to start with you, Roy, Blaisdell, New York, KABYU. What kind of antenna do you prefer? Use HF, vertical or horizontal, Roy? K8BYU, Roy, Blaisdell, New York. Are you there, sir? Well, you should have been on the old in and out list. Alright, let's move on to Randall, Brownstown, Michigan. K8UFM. How about you, Randall? I think these people meant to be in and out. I think CR will be there. W8CRW, Unionville, PA. You there, CR?
Very good, Roger. I'm here, and the answer to the question is, I wish I had a 60-foot tower with a beam, but I don't. So I'm using a wire up in the tree. It works good for me. 73.
Thanks for being there, CR. And yeah, you can hardly see those wires too. I have to go and stand underneath them and show people half the time, so that works out pretty good. Thanks for being there. Let's move on to Bruce, if I got that right. November 8th, Juliet Whiskey Lima, QSL. I think it was the N8WJL, J, Detroit, Michigan. That's the one I think it is. Get ready to say, whoever that was, call sign pretty close to mine. Okay. I guess the question is, what do I prefer for HF, horizontal or vertical antenna? I have a J. I have a dipole that covers 6 to 80, and horizontal, and I love it there, Roger. Oh yes, QSL. I've heard many dipoles out there that sound good. I wouldn't even mind trying it myself, because they are a little bit directional. I might have a little bit of fun with that. Thanks for joining us there, Jay. We appreciate it. Have a great evening. Let's move on to Allen, Warren, Ohio. AD8MJ.
Yeah, good evening there, Roger. And I want to say hello to Dick there, WB2JPQ. Nice to hear you again. It's been a long time since I've checked into the East Coast Reflector TechNet. Had some equipment issues for internet access and some other things, but I'm back in the saddle and looking forward to checking in more often. My preference for HF would be a vertical for my home QTH due to the limited space, but I'm not giving up on a multi-band shortened dipole fed with 300 ohm ladder line that I have in a center-fed inverted V with the alpha delta center insulator fed with 50 ohm coax. So I'll be experimenting with some dipoles in the limited space I have and kicking around a few ways that I can do that. We'll see. Anyway, that's all I have for now. Thanks for having me and doing the net. So I'll say 7-3 to all and send it back to you there, Roger. KO4 QMM from 88MJ.
Oh, QSL Alan, it's good to have you back around. Probably missed you. And you can check out the 20 meter net Thursday morning at 10 a.m. 14.317. Good time to try out your HF signals, your antennas and such. We always enjoy it. So anybody's welcome there that's got the general license or higher. All right, let's move on to Dick. I don't know about this one. Well, you're a late call NH7TR. Are you there?
Yeah. Good evening. NH7TR in San Antonio, Texas. And yep, the name is Rick, Romeo India Charlie Kilo. Just doing the grand check-in. I wasn't expecting the 7s to go by so quickly, and then we went right into 8, so that's what we do nets for, so that we can do these things. So, as far as the antenna, interestingly enough, I prefer two different ones. One is a good old sloper in a tree with like an end-fed half wave. That usually works pretty well for me. And the other one, if I have the time to do it, is putting up a horizontal delta loop. 1005 divided by the frequency. And use a 41 balun, feed it with coax, and put it up as high as you can get it. And it will do what it's supposed to do. Anyway, with that, we're going to send it back to net control. Hope everybody has a good year coming up. And 7-3 all. This is NH7TR in San Antonio, Texas.
QSL Rick, sounds like you got a nice setup there, and thanks for joining us this evening. We'll be looking for you on some of the other nets. And let's move on to Bill, New Market, Tennessee. This is KO4QMM Roger in Central Florida. Whiskey 8 Bravo Romeo Delta. What kind of antenna do you prefer for HF, vertical or horizontal? Good evening, everybody on the net. Whiskey 8 Bravo Romeo Delta. This is Bill here in New Market. I currently have a DX Commander Classic, the 80 through 6 meter version. On the ground vertical. Quarter wave works real well. It's got all the ground radials underneath. Unfortunately, I don't have trees around me that string long wires up in, but I used to hook up poles on a couple of them. That's what I'm working on right now, so we enjoy it very much. Thank you for checking in. Hope everybody has a blessed day and a great year. 7-3, WPRD, back to net. Hey, Bill, quick question for you. Have you talked to the DX Commander? Have you made a contact with him over? No, sir. I have not had the pleasure of talking with Callum. I probably should hunt him down, but have not had a chance to hook up with him over. QSL, yeah, he's a great guy, and I got him on my YouTube subscribe channel, and I've talked to him quite a few times, so yeah, it's quite enjoyable. So if you get the YouTube channel, you'll kind of keep those live, and it's kind of fun live on YouTube. Thanks for being with us, Bill. Appreciate it. Have a great night. All right, I guess on that note, we're going to head to the 9s. This is KO4QMM Roger in Umatilla, Florida. Anybody with a 9 in their call sign wants to answer tonight's question, come with your call sign.
Whiskey Bravo 9, Charlie Sierra Papa, WB9 CSP, Richard, Paris, Texas.
This is 9 Yankee 4 Delta X-ray. 9Y4 DX Bertrand.
All right, we got Bertrand, Trinidad, Tobago, 9Y4DX, and we got Richard, Paris, Texas, WB9CSP. Anybody else that would like to get in tonight's question that has a 9 in their call sign? All right, Richard from Paris, Texas, WB9CSP. What kind of antenna do you prefer for HF, vertical or horizontal?
Vertical because it's got less noise. I am going to be purchasing an Aerontron 99 pretty soon. I've already got the MFJ 945 antenna tuner, so I've been able to tune up random lengths of wire with that, so pretty confident it'll tune up 40 meters on an Aerontron with good ease. Back to you, WB9, Chicago Style Pizza.
Hey. QSL Richard, sounds like you got a plan there. Hope it all works out well. Thanks for being with us tonight. Now let's move on to my buddy Bertrand, Trinidad and Tobago, 9Y4DX. Good evening, Bertrand.
Well, pleasant evening to you, Net Control Roger. Kilo Oscar 4, Quebec, Mike, November. This is 9Y4DX. Bertrand, yes, I'm in Trinidad and Tobago in the, yes. Well, let me extend a pleasant evening to all other stations on the East Coast Reflector TechNet this evening. I hope everyone is doing well and keeping warm. Well, with respect to the question, I prefer horizontal antennas because of length, and I would leave it at that. It is better or more convenient that way for me. That's it from me. Back to you, Net Control. KO4 QMN. This is 9Y4. Yeah.
QSL Bertrand, thanks for being with us as always. We always look forward to hearing from you on Tuesday evenings. And my call sign is, I don't know, it sounded like you had an N in there, Nancy, but it's Kilo Oscar 4 Quebec Mickey Mouse. Kilo Oscar 4 Quebec Mike. Thanks for being with us tonight, and I want to thank everybody for letting me get in here tonight, have a little bit of fun. Thanks, Vicki, for doing some awesome logging, as always. And we're going to move on to Scott, W2BLT, my friend in Buffalo, New York. Let him finish up tonight.
Alright, 73 to all. This is KO4QMM from Umatilla. Take it over, Scott.
Oh.
Well, thank you, my brother. Nice job, Roger. Appreciate the help tonight. Alrighty, folks, this is Scott, W2BLT in Buffalo, New York, and I'm gonna start out with the zeros. If you have a zero in your call sign, please come now.
I guess I'll jump to the front of the list and 0 MSS.
Well, Ross, not only are you at the head of the class, you are the class. Good evening, Ross, and what kind of antenna do you prefer for HF, horizontal or vertical?
Well, sometimes it seems to be a particular style of antenna works for a particular style of a contact too, so I'm going to pick vertical tonight because I think I've made more contacts on my vertical than I have on my horizontals. So I'll stick with that.
Alrighty, thank you, Ross, and appreciate you representing the zeros tonight. You have yourself a good night. Alright, let's go to the one. One in your call sign. Please come now.
N1 CBM, N1 CBM.
W0 SVH, missed on the last call.
Oscar 0 Kilo Yankee, missed on the last call as well.
Alrighty, I got N1 as CBM Carlos. I got W0 SVH, a little bit late there, Sean. And I think we got W0KY Jason, is that correct?
That was correct. Whiskey Oscar 0 Kilo Yankee.
Okay, just looking at it, it's kind of a tongue twister. Anyone else with a 1 in your call sign, please come now. Oh, nothing heard. Let's go to the top of the list. Question of the evening. What kind of antenna do you prefer for use on HF, vertical or horizontal? Let's go to N1 CBM. Carlos in Hollywood, Florida. Good evening, Carlos.
Hello, Scott. Good evening. Vicky, nice to see you again. Everybody else, hope they're having a fantastic Tuesday night. It all depends, Scott. I love the beams because you can reach out far, but they're not portable. So if you're doing POTA, the verticals are great. But if I have to pick one, I would say a big tower with a big Yagi, so beam it is for me. And one little piece of information, Friday might be a good day to pick up an aeronautical mobile again. I'm going to be flying from Washington Dulles to Naples at around 2:30 in the afternoon. I'll fine-tune the details and I'll post it over in the Facebook page, ECR Facebook page. Take it away, Scott. Good night. N1 CBM.
Alrighty, thank you, Carlos. Looking forward to that Friday afternoon. Have a good evening. Let's go to, where are we? W0 SVH, Sean in Anderson, Texas. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening. Thank you for holding the net. And yeah, I saw I was a little bit late. I grabbed the wrong radio when I keyed up, and I wasn't on the right frequency, so I didn't come across, so you kind of skipped over the zeros. I know there's not a whole lot of us. But me, I just got done building a
handful of horizontal dipoles. I'm ready to get pulled up, or actually Charlie WA5AR with the South Coast Reflector is supposed to get with me sometime this week and get some of those pulled up in my tower so I can get on some HF. I've just been running a vertical here recently. But thank you for calling me out, and this is W0SVH, back to you, net control.
Alrighty, thanks for joining us this evening, and you have fun with Charlie. Quite a good fellow. Let's go to WO0KY. Jason, Hillsboro, Oregon. Good evening, Jason.
Hey, yeah, that's a tricky one. I picked that call sign because it read fun, but it's some people have some trouble with it. For vertical versus horizontal, for my particular property, I got some real tall trees that came in real handy, so I ran a 80-meter vertical and fed half-wave that's resonant on quite a few things, and I've had pretty good luck with it. So I don't really, I'll have to pick that, although I haven't, in that same location, haven't had much experience with the vertical. So we'll leave that for a future project.
Alrighty, sounds good. Thanks for joining us, Jason. Alrighty, folks, that'll do it for the ones and the zeros. We're going to move on to the twos, and via the text line, we already have W2AJR Andy, W2RBC Randy, and W2EM Chuck. Who else do we have out there with a 2 in your call sign? Please come now.
2, CJM, Whiskey 2, Charlie, Julia, Mike, in and out.
US, WA2, US.
N2BH, N2BH.
Victor Kilo 2, Delta Yankee, Victor Kilo 2, Delta Yankee. Delta 2, Juliet, Papa, in and out. Tonight, Scott, please.
Alrighty, we'll hold it up there for just a moment. Let me recognize from the bottom up. We had KD2 JPP, Bob in Gallatin, Tennessee, was in and out. Thanks for joining us, Bob. We have VK2 DY, Robert over in Australia. We have N2BH, Bill in Palmyra, New York. And WA2UUS, Joel in Buffalo. We had W2CJM, Charles in Selden, New York, was in and out. Thank you for joining us, Charles. Anyone else with a 2 in your call sign, please come now. With nothing heard, let's go to the top of this list. W2AJR in Cheektowaga, New York. And the question of the evening for everybody is, what kind of antenna do you prefer for use on HF? Vertical or horizontal? Good evening, Andy.
Good evening, Scott. Everybody on the net. Well, since I've only had horizontal antennas and I've never had a vertical, at least not yet, I'll have to say horizontal, but I will try a vertical at some point. Thank you, Scott. 7-3, everybody.
Good evening, Scott, Vicki, and everyone on the TechNet. I prefer to use horizontal antennas on HF. My favorite style would be a wire dipole, and probably followed by a end-fed long wire. Back to you, Scott. 73 to all, W2, RBC.
W2EM, Chuck in Lancaster, New York. Good evening. How's things down in Florida?
Good evening, Scott, Vicky, and the rest of the group here. It's doing great. It's great. It's been 70 degrees down here, and I hope you guys are staying warm up there. As far as antennas go, depends on the frequency. My new hex beam is working fantastic. That's only good for 20 meters and up. And like 40 meters and down, I prefer the G5RV long wire, and that thing works great too. So I switch between the two of them. So anyway, take care. 73 to everybody. W2EM.
Alrighty, thank you, Chuck. And I had to clarify that with somebody here. I thought he put up a hex beam down there, but then I was I was corrected. Have a good evening, Chuck. Thanks for joining us. This is W2BLT. Let's go to W2 or WA2 UUS. Joel in Buffalo. Good evening, Joel.
On the net. As to the question tonight, I use an old homebrew 15-meter dipole, 40 years old, up in my attic, and it works great. For the 20-meter or 40-meter and some of the other HF bands, I use the MFJ 1622 window mount. It could be a vertical or it could be horizontal, depending on which way you face it. I wish everyone a nice week ahead. Be well and be safe. Thank you, Scott.
Well, you have a good week, Joel, and appreciate you joining us tonight. Let's go to one of our system facilitators and one of my morning brew neck controllers, N2BH. Good evening, Bill.
Hey, good evening, Scott, Vicky, everybody else. I guess you classified mine more as horizontal. I haven't really experimented with the verticals or anything, but now that I got my little Zygo unit, the weather gets a little nicer, we'll go out and do some experimenting with wires. N2BH.
Alrighty, sounds good, Bill. Have yourself a great night, and we'll talk to you soon. Let's go halfway around the world here to VK2DY, Robert in Kellyville Ridge, New South Wales, Australia. Good afternoon, Robert.
Hey, good afternoon. This is Robert, VK2DY. Currently the temperature is 34, which is 93 Fahrenheit. Sun is shining, sky is blue. Beautiful summer's day here today. Well, I operate mostly portable when I do HF, so I'm going to have to say vertical. So if I do have horizontal here at the house, but I don't do a lot of work at home, so it has to be vertical. VK2DY.
Well, vertical it is, Robert, and enjoy the rest of the day and the nice weather while you've got it. Appreciate you being here. All right, folks, let's move on to the threes. If you happen to have a 3 in your call sign, please come now.
Whiskey Baker 3, Golf Tango Mike, WB3GTM.
Well, recognizing WB3GTM, Mike in Westford, Vermont. Anyone else with a 3 in your call sign, please come now. Well, with nothing heard, the floor is all yours, Mike. Good evening, and what kind of antenna do you prefer, Jeff? Vertical or horizontal?
Good evening, Scott. Good evening, everybody on the net. This is
Mike WB3GTM. In regards to the question, all antennas work. It's just some antennas work better than others. And I've had the privilege of using all the most various types of styles of antennas and simultaneously. And I've had the privilege of doing that. And I got to say, it's hard to beat a Yagi from experience, believe me. But hey, you got to do what you got to do. Hey, thanks for running in nets and thanks for checking me in. 7-3, I'm back to net control. This is WB3GTM.
Alrighty, Mike, you have yourself a good day, and we appreciate you joining us. Alrighty, folks, let's move on to the 4s. If you have a 4 in your call sign, please come now. UPK in and out.
Whiskey 4, November, Echo Whiskey. Whiskey 4, November, Echo Whiskey. Name's Mike in Pembroke Pines, Florida.
Kilo Fox 4, Alpha Charlie Bravo. KF4ACB, the name is Ed Echo Delta in Cumberland Gap, Tennessee.
4 Foxtrot Hotel Echo, Kilo Quebec 4 Foxtrot Hotel Echo.
AR4 AFK, Kilo Romeo 4 Alpha Fox Kilo.
Whiskey 4 Hotel Kilo.
KL4 FRR, KL4 FRR.
Tennessee.
W4FWN, W4 Foxtrot Whiskey November.
Kilo Oscar 4 Victor Oscar Foxtrot, KO4 VOF.
Kilo Jupiter 4 Zulu Fox Michael. Kilo Jupiter 4 Zulu Foxtrot Michael.
All right, let me pick it up there for just a moment. Recognize who we have here, and I got one I want to just verify. We had KJ4 ZFM Robert, KO4 VOF Rando, W4 FWN Dan. We had KO4 FRR Joe, W4 HKL Steve, KR4 AFK James in Huntsville, looks like you're new to the system. We had KQ4 FHE Pat, KF4 ACB. Is this Terry in Tennessee?
Roger, roger, that would be me.
Very good. We had KK4 JPW Brian via the text. We had WW4 NEW Mike. And KQ4 UPK Chris in Fort Pierce, Florida was in and out. Thanks for joining us. Anyone else with a 4 that I didn't recognize, or anybody with a 4 in your call sign looking to get in here tonight, please come now.
KQ4 IWN, Huntsville, Alabama, Kevin. KQ4 IWN, Huntsville, Alabama, the name is Kevin.
November 4, Kilo Victor, John, also in Huntsville, Alabama, N4KV.
Kilo Jupiter 4 Zulu Foxtrot Michael. Kilo Jupiter 4 Zulu Foxtrot Michael. Gentlemen, I happen to be in the hospital. I just had an operation and I'm really trying to get into the net. Thank you.
Hotel Sierra Mike. 4 Hotel Sierra
Kilo Quebec 4, November Quebec Romeo. Isaac, Pigeon Forge. Kilo Quebec 4, November Quebec Romeo.
Alrighty, we'll hold it up there, recognizing KQ4 NQR. Isaac and Pigeon Forge, new to the system. Welcome. We'll get back to you shortly. We had K4 HSM, Greg. N4 KV, John. KQ4 RWN, Kevin. And the rest of them I acknowledged. Let's go to, we want to go to KJ4 ZFM. Robert in Deltona, Florida. Good evening, Robert. Sorry to hear you're in the hospital.
Yeah, okay, thank you very much. Yeah, I had to happen to have an operation on my limb, and I'm hoping it's... I actually woke up a little earlier and tried to check in, and Dick told me something which I did not understand. I was still groggy. But I actually do prefer a horizontal antenna. I actually do, and looking for some help with doing an electric line in my QTH. So if there's anyone in there that can give me some inside help on what I have, I will explain what my problem is. Kilo Jupiter 4 Zulu Foxtrot Michael.
Thank you, Robert. And I'm sure Robert's good on QRZ. Maybe somebody can shoot him an email and see if they could help him with his electrical problem there. Let's go to the top of this list. W4 NEW, Mike in Pembroke Pines, Florida. Good evening, Mike. And what kind of antenna do you prefer for HF, vertical or horizontal?
I can't answer your question. I just have a technician license, and I haven't had it very long, so I'm on UHF, VHF right now. Maybe I'm studying to upgrade to general. Maybe in a little while I can answer your question, but I can't now.
Well, that's fine, Mike. We appreciate you joining us, and good luck with studying for the general. Let's go to KK4 JPW via the text. Brian in Monticello, Kentucky. Good evening.
Good evening, everybody. Well, I'm kind of in the same boat. I have my general. I'm studying for the extra currently, if I get a chance. Kind of had to put things on hiatus for several years just due to work and so forth, and anyway, trying to get back into stuff. So, but I guess I'm considering horizontal. I don't know about vertical where I'm at. I'm kind of, I'm in an apartment, so I'm in a restricted kind of area. I don't know that my landlord would care. He's pretty relaxed and easygoing like myself, but I've really thought about, just for the sake of it, as my first antenna, just hooking up to the gutter and see what happens. But anyway, I don't know if I'll do that or not, but I would say I'm probably in a better spot for a horizontal antenna at the current situation. But I'll turn it back to net control, KK4 JPW.
Alrighty, thank you, Brian. And if you do that gutter, by all means come back, let us know how. I've heard about a lot of people doing it, and heck, experimentation is the way to go. KF4 ACB, Darien, Tennessee. Good evening.
I'm still here, I reckon. KF4ACB in Harrogate, Tennessee. Preference as well.
I've been a ham now almost 30 years, and I've never used a vertical HF antenna. So I would have to say obviously horizontal. I have used single band dipoles. I've used fan antennas, trap antennas, B&W folded dipole. I've used double bazookas, and I've experimented with a lot of them. Unfortunately, I'm in a place now where I can't experiment. I don't have either of my legs. I had them both amputated a couple years ago, and I'd have to say my favorite overall vertical, or not vertical, but horizontal antenna would have to be a off-center fed dipole, because of its versatility and broad bandwidth, and using a 4-to-1 or 6-to-1 balun, you can tune up just about everywhere if it's long enough. Over.
Alrighty, thank you, Terry. Sounds like you've done some experimenting in your time. Thanks for joining us. Let's go to KQ4 FHE, Pat in Harvest, Alabama. Good evening, Pat.
Scott and everybody else on the net. This is KQ4 FHE. My preferred antenna would be a 3-element multi-band Yagi antenna mounted on a 60 to 70 foot tower. That's my dream station. 73s to everybody. Back to you, Scott.
Thanks for joining us, Pat, and enjoy the rest of the evening. This is W2BLT. Let's go to KR4AFK. James in Huntsville, Alabama. Looks like you're new to the system. Welcome.
Folks, yeah, I have them on brand new tech. I did check into the morning brew this morning, and I don't do HF yet, but where I live, I'm going to have to do vertical. I won't be able to do horizontal. But I also wanted to say that I really appreciate you guys at the East Coast Reflector. Y'all are an awesome resource, and I'm learning a lot. And hello to all my other Madison County folks in here tonight. 73s, KR4AFK.
Well, thanks for joining us, James, and don't be a stranger. And yes, Huntsville, Alabama is well represented tonight. Good to see you again. 4 HKL, Steve, up in Cumberland Gap, Tennessee. Good evening.
Hey, good to hear you. Good to hear everyone on the net. Favorite antenna, horizontal, 160 meter horizontal loop or an 80 meter horizontal loop. That would be my favorites. W4HKL, back to net.
Thanks, Steve. Have a great week. KL4FRR, one of our system facilitators in Sorrento, Florida. Good evening, Joe.
Good evening, Scott, and hopefully everybody's having a good evening. To answer the question, it's horizontal. Talk to you guys later in the Zoom room. KL4FR.
Alrighty, Joe. Thanks for joining us, and we'll talk to you shortly. W4FWN, Dan in Sanford, Florida. Good evening.
Well, good evening, Scott, and everyone else on the net. It's W4FWN. My preferred antenna is probably a 60 or 70 foot tower with a 3-element beam on top of it. The only thing I've ever used, because I just didn't have that kind of real estate, is a vertical antenna. So I would say what I used is vertical, but what I'd love to have is horizontal, a Yankee on top of a tower. Back to net control. This is W4FWN.
All right, thanks, Dan. Appreciate you joining us. Let's go to KO4 VOF, Randall in Orlando, Florida. Good evening, Randall.
Good evening, Scott, and the rest of the crew on the net. Yeah, I'm currently using a horizontal. I got an inverted V, and I'm just a technician too, but 10 meters is open and going crazy for the next few years. And but I'm also been interested in the vertical. I got a hamstick mag mount, and with my G90 20-watt radio, I was able to get way into Russia, about 6,000 miles on it. So I'm having a lot of fun on 10 meters. KO4 VOF, back to net.
There you go, Randall. Have fun with it. I appreciate you joining us. Let's go to KQ4 RWN, Kevin in Huntsville, Alabama. Good evening, Kevin. KQ4 RWN, are you still with me, Kevin? Well, moving right along, how about N4 KV? John, also in Huntsville, Alabama. Good evening.
Good evening, Scott and the net. Very interesting topic. I was thinking about it, you know, as everybody's been talking about it. I've been a ham 58 years, and I've put up quite a few wire antennas in my day, some that worked well and some that didn't work worth beans. Currently, I have 3 wire antennas that all have a horizontal and vertical element into them. So I would have to say I do combos right now. But the other answer to the question is I always try to do it to the interest that I'm involved in. If I'm interested in DX, verticals certainly have a lot of help, especially on the lower bands. I tend to operate at 160 through 20 meters. Don't have a beam, so don't do that. I've operated many beams over the years. They're wonderful antennas to have, and if I had room and the money, I'd probably put one up. But in realistic terms, I'm a wire antenna guy. So I guess my answer is both. But all of them have some sort of horizontal element to them, and most of them have some sort of RF choke on the vertical part for it to radiate. So that's it, Scott. Hope you have a great rest of the week. N4 KV clear.
All right, thanks for joining us, John. It's very interesting. Appreciate you being here. Let's go to K4 HSM, Greg in Knoxville, Tennessee. Good evening.
Greg this afternoon. Horizontal. I do portable operations, field day setups, anything like that. I typically use dipoles, got an internet. I use them up front. Portable operations. I do have a couple of vertical antennas I'm still testing out. I got one for portable. I have another one that's an old vertical I had for HF, like 10, 6 months. It did pretty good. It's a little TLC. Yeah, typically, I think for stationary portable operations, horizontal placement, they're pretty good.
Alrighty, Greg. Thanks for joining us, and you have yourself a great evening. Last one of the 4 is KQ4NQR. Isaac down in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. Good evening.
Good evening, Net Control and the rest of the net. Thanks for letting me check in first time. Like a few others, I'm also pretty new. I've had my license for about a year, so haven't really got to play with any HF, including 10 meters. I've got an idea when I do bump my license up to maybe do like an inset half wave to begin, maybe from this tree at the corner of my yard or my property coming down towards my house, and then I figured that'll give me a few different bands to figure out which ones I like the most, and then maybe redo an antenna a little bit more purpose-built for those specific bands then. This is KQ4 NQR.
Sounds good, Isaac. Looks like you're new to the system. Don't be a stranger. Alrighty, folks, this is W2BLT. It's time for the late and missed. If you were late to the party or missed your call district, now's your opportunity. Via the text line, we have K5RLR, Randall and Spring. Who else do we have for the late and missed? Please come now.
K88BYU. K88BYU.
Whiskey Bravo 8, Oscar Delta Foxtrot, WB8ODF. Bravo Foxtrot, name is Kurt.
Kilo Quebec 4, Golf Lima Yankee. Kilo Quebec 4, Golf Lima Yankee. Alright, let me pick it up there, recognizing KQ4GLY, Chris, WB8ODF, Dave, KA8BYU, Roy. We had a call in there with a 6BF. Could you key up the mic, wait just a couple seconds to get that call sign again to me, please?
Six, Bravo, Foxtrot, Romeo.
Well, that was a little better. I got 6 Bravo, Foxtrot, Romeo. I need the beginning of it, please. You're cutting yourself off.
New headset, maybe it's not working so well.
Well, let's try it one more time. That repeater you're going through is way up on the mountain. Might take a minute for your signal to get up there. Try it one more time. All I need is the prefix.
Oscar.
Alrighty, I think Vicky got it here somehow. Kurt in San Jose. We'll get back to you in a moment. Anyone else late and missed? Last call for the late and missed. Please come now.
Delta Whiskey Alpha. W1AFP, Whiskey 1 Alpha Foxtrot Papa.
Alrighty, we're going to hold it up there. Got W1AFP, Robert in Wilmington, Massachusetts. Did we have a KF4 DWA in there? DWA station, you want to come back again and confirm your call sign? Well, we'll come back to them at the end. All right, let's go up and run this list. We got, looks like Richard, Robert, Chris, Kurt, Dave, Roy, and to the top of this list, K5RLR. Good evening, Randall. And the question of the evening is, what kind of antenna do you prefer for use on HF? Vertical or horizontal?
Well, good evening there, Scott, and Brother Scott, if you're out there listening this evening, and everybody else on the TechNet, K5RLR. Well, Scott, I guess I'll have to be the difficult one tonight and say whichever one works best. Hi. Now, I've had my experience with my Chameleon Vertical. It's really nice. It had me all over the world from my backyard, including New Zealand, so that was pretty cool. And yeah, my wire antenna, my Chameleon wire antenna, I think it's 130 small feet. That one has gotten me quite all over as well, including Australia and several other places, etc., etc. So if I'm forced to stick with one, I will say wire. Hope everybody has a good evening, 73 Stroll, and see everybody on the brew in the morning. Thanks for running the net, Scott. We do appreciate it. K5RLR, back to you, sir.
All right, thank you, Randall. Appreciate you joining us. Next up, Roy, KA8BYU, Blaisdell, New York. Good evening, Roy. Glad to have you back.
Yeah, good evening, Scott, everybody on the net. KA8BYU. Yeah, the battery died on the radio. I changed it, you passed me by. Yeah, I use right now a slinky antenna that's horizontally strung throughout the apartment here. I've used G5RVs. I've used Flopers. I had a 40 through 10 meter vertical at one time in the yard. So, yeah, all kinds of different ones, but I prefer the wire antennas and horizontally mounted. Yeah. Yeah.
Alrighty, I think Roy's battery died again. Let's go to WB8 ODF, Dave in Ypsilanti, Michigan. Good evening, Dave.
Good evening, Scott, and everyone on the net. Scott, I didn't know if you knew this or not, but vertical and horizontal antennas were invented in Ypsilanti, Michigan. I have never messed with a vertical antenna other than other people's. Didn't even really sit in on how good they worked or how bad they worked. I'm going to go with horizontal. I loved the Cubits quad and the Delta loops and everything horizontal. So I'm going to go with horizontal. And sorry I missed you the other day, Scott. This is Dave, WB8ODF.
Alrighty, Dave, thanks for joining us. And the money you can use, you can probably buy them with S&H green stamps, which were invented where else? Have a great night. Appreciate you joining us, Dave. Always a pleasure. Let's go to KO6 BFR, Kurt in San Jose, California. Good evening.
Hi, I hope you can hear me better out in the backyard. Is this coming through better?
Yes, sir, much better.
I got my tech license a year ago, and I've been using a Chameleon LEF S8010 end-fed wire. And that's been working pretty good. And then when we had all that solar activity, I tried putting up a NVIS long wire over the top of my house. I couldn't tell if it was working or not, but I just tried recently putting a whisper on it and got all the way to Miami, Florida, so that's good. And then this previous Saturday, I tried making a Rybakov vertical, and it reached the other side of the country too. So I don't know what's my favorite yet. So far, they're all working about the same.
Alrighty, thank you, Kurt. Appreciate you joining us. Don't be a stranger, and when you're going to talk to us, it seems like walking outside is the thing to do, because you sound real good outside. This is W2BLT. Let's go to KQ4, GLY, Chris in Paris, Florida. Good evening.
Net, I prefer a horizontal antenna. Back to you.
Horizontal it is. Thanks for joining us tonight. W1 AFP, Robert in Wilmington, Massachusetts. Good evening.
Buckmaster multi-band dipole, and it runs very well. Many contacts all over the country and all over the world. Thanks again for running the net. This is Whiskey 1 Alpha Foxtrot Papa 73.
Have a good evening, Robert, and thanks for joining us tonight. And the last one of the evening, KF4 DWA, Richard, out in Farragut, Tennessee. Good evening. KF4 DWA. Richard, are you still with me? Something heard. That's going to do it for tonight, folks. We appreciate everybody joining us with your questions and just your general check-ins. On behalf of WB2 JPQ, Dick, KO4 QMM, Roger, and KE8 VKY, Vicky on the log. This is Scott, W2BLT, wishing everybody a great week. And don't forget, tomorrow night in the Zoom room, have a presentation from W2HCB, John, on WinLink. Should be interesting, and that's at 7 o'clock, I believe. So we'll see you then. Returning Reflector to normal amateur use. This is W2BLT.
W2BLT, KF4ACB. Right, if you're still there, KF4ACB.
HCV, go ahead.
Just wanted to comment on the good job you did on the net tonight. I really appreciated it, and really appreciated the question also. I found that to be very interesting, and getting all the people's opinions there. And I wanted to comment on how well represented Foreland in America was. It was unbelievable. KF4ACB 73.
73, and every once in a while the fours do wake up. And it seems like this week they woke up. It was nice to hear. But you have yourself a great evening, and thanks for joining us again. It's W2BLT.
KQ4 UPK BLT did a great job as always. Dick, have a great night. Vicky, have a great night. Everybody 7-3s. KQ4 UPK clear.
BLT, did you mind adding NJ1S Eric in Vermont to the list, or was the woman who keeps track of it unable to do that?
Well, I thought I heard you in there or saw you come up or something. We got you, Eric, and you have yourself a great night.
You as well, 7-3.
TXI.